Okay, I had a bit of a crazy experience yesterday and ended up in the ER after I got CT contrast put through my veins. And my reaction was 4 hours later, and it was not what would usually be a reaction, so kind of nobody knew what to do with me. I'd like to share what happened. If there's anybody out there who knows somebody who is a doctor, who has a lot of experience. Obviously, I know that the doctors I saw probably have a lot of experience, but some symptoms are coming back. And to be honest, I don't want to go back to a doctor, especially this time of night. I was stuck at the ER for 5 hours without much, really no answers. And maybe there is none to be had. Or if you know anybody who's had a CT contrast and had the same symptoms as me, and just want to reach out and tell me like, oh yeah, that happened, they had the same symptoms, but it did go away. So here it goes. So yesterday morning I went in for a CT scan. I wasn't sick, there was nothing too alarming. I've just had kind of these weird blood pressure problems in my neck that just feel like something might explode in my neck. I thought it was like vein related. It felt like a vein was gonna pop. It's been that way for 8 years, but it's uncomfortable. So I have a condition where my bones move, and I thought maybe a bone was on it. So that's why I went in for a CT. I was healthy, I was fine, not anxious, and I put that out there because anytime I'm in an ER, they're like, do you have a history of anxiety? Like I don't know, maybe they ask everybody that. But one time when I was almost dying of another thing in the ER, they also, behind my back, put on my charts that it was anxiety, and it was not. They also neglected to do the testing they should do. So I don't have the best history with ERs. So anyways, I get the CT scan done, and it didn't go flawlessly. The girl who first tried to do my IV, was not having a good luck on the IV and was digging around. Second time it felt like it took a little long in my arm as well. But she was like, I think it worked, let's go forward, and if it works, you'll feel like this warm stuff in you. If you're having a reaction, like it will really react, you'll know, like let me know if you think you're having a reaction. It was more burny than warm, but I said, oh, it's more like a burn, is that okay? And she's like, yeah, it's fine. And it was fine. Like I didn't have a reaction at the site. Went home and figured all is well. Had a great day. Wasn't sitting around being anxious about anything. I didn't self-inflict what was about to happen. I don't love when that's even brought up, I guess, because that just is a trigger for me. But what did happen was I was actually taking it the easiest I've ever taken it, because my first full day without kids. I'm in 11 years, and I normally am rushing around and pushing myself so hard. I pushed myself so hard for 11 years. I've been on burnout since my third kid was born, and I was like, you know what? It would be healthy for me to just lay around, and I'm going to. And I was just chatting with my friends on like some video apps and eating some chips and just happy. I was just a happy person. And all of a sudden I started feeling so sick. It was really sudden. It was like my head kind of hurt, and then I was kind of cold, and I wrapped up in a blanket thinking I'd feel better, but then I was getting colder and colder, and then I was like, my head feels like it's gonna explode. And it just felt like the symptoms were moving really fast. I was like, this is sickness. This is just coming on me suddenly. Like I wasn't sick this morning, walked my kids to school, and now I'm just so very suddenly sick. Like it's bizarre. And then it just was progressing where I'm like, I just feel really weird. And like, yeah, when you're sick, you feel weird, but it was beyond that. It was worse than like how you feel weird in the sickness. And so my husband's supposed to be putting kids to bed, and instead there's a kid at my window trying to get into my car. I told him I was making this video because I wanted to get some questions, and now I have a kid at my window shining a flashlight in my face. Well, I don't think he knows that one has escaped. Hold on. Go to bed. Now, Betty, I'll be in a minute. Daddy's supposed to be with you. I'll be in 1 minute. You're not supposed to be out here with a flashlight. He's gonna be so mad when he knows. Go on, buddy. Okay. Love you. Imagine why I wanted to sit around on my couch after 11 years of little stinkers. I think they're cute little stinkers. Okay, oh man, mom brain. I'm like, where was I at? So, as it's getting worse and the feeling like my head's gonna explode was like, this is alarming because I don't get headaches. So, like, this is not even a headache. This feels like a pressure gonna blow in my head. And I look at my hands, like, it's like they're so cold and they feel so weak and they're like gray. And my feet were kind of gray, and I was like, and they were so sweaty. I do have Raynaud's. If I'm really get too hot or too cold, they do change colors, but usually, like, I have to be in a cold environment or I have to be in a hot environment. It's not usually because I'm sick. And my house was like a very average temperature of like 75. So I was like, this isn't right. I don't know why my hands would be turning gray. And as I started feeling just beyond sick, like I just feel so weird, like I'm fading, like I'm dizzy, like I'm getting nauseous. I called my husband. I'm like, I think you just need to come home. I've heard that you can have reactions to contrast, and I don't know if I am or I am not. I really don't want to go to a doctor, but I just want to just have you here, because if it's a reaction and it happens, I know reactions with an allergy could be that you stop breathing, your airway closes off. So I'm like, if my airway closes off, I want somebody here with me. So he came home, and by the time he came home, I was starting to have this weird pain right here. This is the arm that it was done in. This is the arm they tried and it didn't work. And all of a sudden I had this really deep pain, not at the injection site, not here, but up here, just like right here. And it suddenly was just like this shooting deep pain. Like I've never ever experienced any kind of pain like this. And I have a really high pain tolerance. I birth my babies, I go all the way till an 8 or 9 without an epidural. The first child, that was not the plan, and it was kind of torturous, and I was crying and throwing up and feeling like I was being abused against my will, and they couldn't get an epidural to me. It was awful. And this was like a deeper pain than that, especially as it spread. Then it got horrendous, beyond description, horrendous. I just pulled out my back 3 weeks ago, and I was almost bedridden. I had to be on the floor or walking. I couldn't sit for 2 weeks. If I moved wrong, I kind of yelped. I was in a lot of pain with that, but I didn't take a single painkiller. I didn't even take like a leave, because that stuff just doesn't seem to help me that much. Painkillers make me sick. So, I have a pretty high pain tolerance. And here I was like, this pain is getting so bad. Oh no, like it's spreading across, especially across my shoulders into this other arm, and kind of same area, not past and down the arm, which is unusual because the injection was down here. And I'm like, well, let's just go to Instacare. I still don't want to go to the ER because I've had bad experiences in the ER. History tells me they're not going to find anything wrong with me. They're not going to try that hard to find anything wrong with me. It's going to be very expensive. It's going to take 5 hours, and we're going to have a big bill for nothing. But also, like, if my airway closes off, or we need to figure out what this pain is, I'm starting to cry about this pain. It's so bad. Let's just get to Instacare. Well, the Instacare is in a hospital. We can go into the hospital if we have to. And so I get to Instacare, and on the drive there, I'm like, this pain is beyond what I can handle. Like, I'm starting to bawl, and I cannot believe how intense it is. There just are no words. But I was like, oh my gosh, this is worse than natural birth that felt like torture. Felt like knives were ripping out my insides when I was birthing, and now like this is somehow worse. It was like a very deep ache, like kind of like a flu ache, only times like a billion. That's the closest I can think to describe it. And so by the time I get there, I'm bawling. I can't really hardly talk because of the pain. My husband has to tell them what's going on. To Instacare, they tell a nurse what's going on, and she's like, oh no, she's straight to the ER. They get me down to the ER, and I'm just sitting there like, I don't want to go in there. I have a feeling they'll find nothing. I probably just have some weird reaction to this contrast, but it's clearly not anaphylactic. And if it is, I'll come back. Maybe we'll go sit in the parking lot, but they're not going to find anything wrong with me. And I maybe just need a pain pill, and that feels awkward to ask for because they will accuse you of wanting drugs, which has also happened to me, even though I never take painkillers. In an ER, I was accused of being there for that reason. That was fun. Same experience as I was talking about earlier. But So as we get down there, I look at the lady, the nurse, and I just say, I really don't want to be in the ER. I really don't. Can I please just come back to Instacare and talk to a doctor there and just get something for this pain? And if something more serious happens, I'm going to stay nearby and I'll come back in. I'll take myself to the ER. And she's like, well, that would be a refusal of care. This is what we feel like you need to do. We can try to take you back. We can try to get you in to see a doctor back there. But I'm going to tell you the truth. There's a good chance they're going to not feel like they should be the one that you're talking to. They're going to feel like it needs to be an ER doctor and they're going to make you come back down here. I said, okay, just let me try. Just let me go try to talk to them. She's like, okay. So we turn away from the ER, which maybe was a mistake because I ended up there way longer. But we go back to the Instacare doctor and, you know, I'm bawling off and on. Like sometimes I got too tired to cry. Sometimes I could just not think about the pain and then the pain would overtake me. I could not move my arms at this point. If I moved my arms, that was like kill me now. It was so painful to move my arms at all. No way could I pick myself up out of a chair. I couldn't even do this with a shoulder. That was gonna be beyond excruciating, and I was already, I would say, out of, you know, a 1 to 10 pain I've experienced in my life, I was in a permanent 12, but if I moved my arms, it was like a 20. It was just off the charts. It's like the type of pain that felt like it could drive you insane. And the Instacare doctor was like, I think you do need to go back to the ER. You need to. I can't do anything for you. And I was like, why? What do you think? You know, and she was like, it could be a blood clot. And I said, really? A blood clot would cause this kind of pain? And I've seen online, like I've been suspectful of blood clots in my legs, just my legs before for various reasons. And then everything online is like, no, it'll look more like this. Doctors have said, oh no, it'll look more like this. And so you don't have all the telltale signs, so no. Never did I think of my arms. But she said, yeah, the contrast could have moved a blood clot. And so I want you to go there and get that tested. So then I get to the ER and there's a bunch of people there. And they're ahead of us and it's a long, long wait. And I probably spend an hour to an hour and a half, maybe 2, because I don't know, we were there forever. We got to the Instacare first day and moment in the door at 4. We didn't get home till 9, 5 hours later. So anyways, and I'm sobbing in the ER I thought at some point someone might be like, yeah, if this is pain related, like maybe we could give her something, you know. And I was desperate. I was, so finally after the hour and a half, 2 hours, I don't even know, of waiting, I asked my husband to ask if someone could give me something. They were like, we can't. Nurse finally takes me back and she puts, so earlier the Instacare doctor had put a blood pressure cuff on this arm that didn't have the contrast. And she puts a blood pressure cuff on this arm that did have the contrast. And as she gave it pressure, I screamed bloody murder. Didn't see that coming. Didn't know it was going to hurt so bad. And my whole body screamed, this is going to kill you. Maybe that's just something pain can do. It felt like there was something in my arm she was putting pressure on that she should not. And I screamed bloody murder. And I was like, get it off, get it off, get it off, get it off, screaming. Probably looked like a psycho to them that I've been crying for so long, I'm screaming, but this is literally the pain levels I'm at. And she takes it off and then they send me back out to wait again. And then I waited a long time again, and then finally they get me back. But as you know, when you get back, you don't see the doctor who's going to help you. You talk to like a different nurse or tech or something, and they ask for the same thing that everybody's asked you, 3 or 4 times, why are you here? And then way long till the doctor comes back, which no judgment. Who knows if there was people on the table bleeding out, having heart attacks. You never know what they're going through. But it was probably a good 3.5 hours until I finally got a pain med. Which ended up making me very sick, which is why I avoid them. I told them I needed a really small dose. It was not small enough, but it didn't make me sick in the ER. It was when I walked out and it started moving through my bloodstream. I came home and threw up a bunch. I felt like a drunken sailor. I was weak. I was falling over. It was awful. It was a different kind of awful. But I mean, it was worth it because it did take out some of this pain going on. Gabapentino's a nerve blocker, so like even if something's supposed to send a signal of pain, which I don't feel like I was having nerve pain, I do feel like it was muscular, but it could be something else. But I know what nerve pain feels like, and it wasn't like that, so I think it maybe just worked because still the nerves have to speak to everything to tell them to have pain or not. And so I just think it turned off the signal. Regardless of how it worked, I was grateful, but sick. But as the doctor came in, he was like, yeah, I think that's all you need is a pain med. And I was like, that was all I was going to the Instacare for. They wanted me to be here to check for a blood clot. And he's like, oh no, you don't have all the telltale signs. Like, you don't have like a bump that should be red and burny and itchy. There's no bumps anywhere. There's no lumps. Also, if you wanted to have that checked, we would have to do the same scan that you're claiming just killed you, So like, we don't want to do that scan. Come to find out online, I'm reading there's other ways to do that scan for a blood clot other than contrast in your veins. So that, I don't know why he told me that. Also, I'm saying, well, then this was a really bad reaction. They said, well, do you have this? You have that? Were you going through this or that? Like, no, I wasn't going through anything. Like, this was for sure reaction. They're like, no, a reaction would be like hives, maybe a bump, a red bump at the injection site. You should have some sort of something at the injection site, not like up here. And or like shortness of breath, a rash somewhere. And so I have no hives, I have no rash. So like, this is not a reaction probably. And I was like, this is definitely a reaction. This is definitely related to this. So, but then again, I guess I could be wrong. I think that he has a lot on his plate. I heard a code stroke come through. Like, I'm not on here to try to judge this doctor by any means. I'm starting to have pain right in here again. So most of today I felt fine. I did notice if I moved my shoulder around, this was very, very achy. But if I didn't really move it around, it was fine. Now it's starting to ache on its own again. If I kind of pull it back, it's pretty good. But if I go like this, it pinches something that hurts horribly, and this side does not. So there is a small concern to me, like if that could be pinching a blood clot, but maybe it's just pinching a sore muscle, and whatever I had, somehow my body sent it into my muscles, or my muscles just freaked out because there was a foreign substance, and that's how my body chose to freak out and react to this. I do usually have delayed processing in my body to things like medications. They take a really long time to kick in, and then they usually do kick in too hard. So anyways, I'm just curious if anyone could send this to anyone medical, and should I be worried that this is still aching so much? And also, has anyone had almost the same experience after contrast? And you could be like, oh yeah, I had that same experience, and yeah, it stays achy for days and then it goes away. Because part of me is like, if it is a blood clot, like, I'm doing my family a disservice to not go find out. This is really close to my heart, but also, like, it probably isn't, and I don't want to go back in anymore. Like, I hate being in the hospital, and they never find anything wrong with me. It's thousands of dollars to waste my time. So I would love any advice from online if somebody is a very experienced medical professional, or they've been through this same experience. If you really don't have experience, you can maybe send me a personal DM, but like, I don't want to have like a hate fest on the medical system, even though I have my own trauma there and whatnot. I'm not really like opening this up for attention. Like, I'm just looking for people with experience in this. So thank you.